Alright, it's about 13 minutes until 4. We were given 15 minutes. It takes us a while to walk to the truck, so I'm always pressed for time. So about 1:35 we picked up with Hanson on the stand. One thing I should say is that the IRS Special Agent Evans didn't sit in front of me this time. I don't know if he's listening to me putting out these audios or not, but I had a clear view to the witness, so I felt that was better than before, where he sat right in front of me, and when I would lean to the right, he would lean to the right, so that didn't go on this time. I need to mention this Judge Dale character gets mentioned quite a bit. Hanson doesn't remember his last name, but he said he has received books from the man. So that gets mentioned quite a bit. This Judge Dale character seems to be providing a lot of information for the trust, and nobody seems to remember his last name, which is understandable, I guess. But the Tiffany, who's very animated, there's another word for it, theatrics, a lot of theatrics from Tiffany. Her body language is, aha! You know, and she's always moving very rapidly like a volleyball player, back and forth and bouncing all over the place, wearing her tight pants, and her attitude of, you know, about you don't have the education and you're acting like you've got a high IQ and you don't have accredited universities behind you, and it's quite a show in the courthouse today. Paul Hanson said he walked out of his house when he was issued the subpoena, and he challenged it shortly thereafter. Tiffany has objected many times. Let me see how many times I counted. I counted up to 9 or 10 different places where either Tiffany or Judge Margaret Casey Rogers injected themselves, whereas the defense never did that. It's absolutely amazing that every time I turn around, Tiffany's either objecting or the judge is giving instructions, and at least 10 times. And see, that never went on when we had this boring onslaught of reading of documents by Scott Schneider. But let's see, Tiffany got upset. Her first objection was that Hanson cannot define the law, because he started to say what the law was, and then Margaret Casey Rogers had to step in and say, you know, Hanson, you're not allowed to define the law. Or she said the jury, even though he may talk about what the law is, you're to not count anything he says as definition of the law. That only comes from me, because Hanson has put himself up as someone who's been through a lot of studying of common law and jurisdictional law, but they don't want to allow that to get in as any authoritative discussion. We only have 15 minutes, so I may do these notes later on when I have more time, but let me just go through some highlights here. The biggest thing is Tiffany's theatrics and her attitude, jumping all over the place and objecting like crazy, and she really has a bad attitude towards Hanson, thinking he's deceptive and evasive. But Hanson just thinks differently than the rest of us. He doesn't think of himself as, he said he doesn't answer the question whether he's a citizen in the affirmative, or he doesn't deny it. He said he challenges it, and he talks about birthright, as if its birthright is a form of citizenship, and that's the highest form. When they asked him, he received the subpoena after he walked out his house, he immediately challenged it. Paul Hanson said, I thought I would get a response before just getting arrested, you know, like a bunch of thugs. So it's like they just came and immediately arrested him when he challenged the subpoena, and he thought he would get some sort of written response, but no, these thugs just show up and arrest you. Hanson said that he feels like he's on very perfectly sound principle of law when he challenges a subpoena. He didn't think it was inappropriate to challenge the subpoena. He sent notices to the clerk, the attorneys. What else? He talks about his birthright gives him special privileges. He talks about civil contempt of order and criminal contempt of order, court orders. He said he's very sensitive not to do anything that would rise to the level of clouding a title. He does not want to break the law and cloud the titles. Hanson talked to his lawyer at church and got some, but they wouldn't allow him to say what the guy said because it was hearsay. But this Judge Dale, like I said, I think he may be some sort of retired former federal judge that converted to Christianity, and he's trying to help correct a lot of things in this corrupt, evil system. I don't know that for sure, but I think he has. Hanson did say he wrote some books, and he got some books from him. When Klotz was questioning Hanson, He said, did you conspire to conduct illegal activity with Hovind? Paul Hansen said no. And then Klotz said, if Hovind ever directed you to do something illegal, would you do it? Hansen said, no, he would not do that, and he would stop associating with Hovind. So they are men that's driven by biblical principle, but because Tiffany and Snyder and Margaret don't understand anything about Bible-believing Christians, they just think of us as deceptive and evasive, and they don't understand our worldview. Paul Hansen says, I live by the Bible. It tells me not to defraud people. Klotz said, do you have any intent to take or to defraud anything from Jaworski or anyone? Hansen said, if I see a penny, I ask the guy next to me if it belongs to me. Theft is wrong. God is watching everything we do. Hansen goes on to say the U.S. Great American Experiment is about freedom, not government. Freedom limits government. The main theme in America is freedom, not government. Obey God without affecting other people's rights. It's the only country on earth where we've had this freedom, and he wants to preserve our freedoms. He's working hard to ensure that we promote freedom and not bigger government. U.S. citizen is not the highest. Freedom. We need to be freedom focused, not government focused. He mentioned the Bill of Rights. He means that they exist. He said they existed before the Constitution was created. In other words, our rights come from God. We didn't need the Constitution to give us those rights. Hansen said Hansen made note, and this is true. Hansen made note from the witness stand. He said you'll notice that the prosecutors never refer to me as a U.S. citizen. He said if they ever refer to me as a U.S. citizen, then he'll have the counter arguments of what document or what basis do you make that claim? Because I noticed that Tiffany never refers to him as a citizen. She only says, have you ever found any evidence that Paul Hansen is a citizenship of any other country on earth besides U.S.? But she never refers to him as a U.S. citizen. So Paul Hansen is right in that regard, because they don't have any documents or basis to call him a U.S. citizen. Tiffany objects again. She's always objecting. She's very like animated and theatrics. And she's almost so negative, I would think it would bias a jury, because she's so negative against him. She doesn't even try to hide it. Tiffany's objecting yet again. Hansen said that he maintains his right to challenge authority for redress, that he's never going to give that up. And keep in mind that goes back to what Judge Margaret Casey Rogers is saying about its final judgment in perpetuity. Hansen says he's got the right to redress. Yeah, I gotta finish this up. I don't want to do I got so much stuff, guys. I'll tell you what, I'll do this again tonight, because we got to get back in the courtroom. I don't want to miss anything. We're right in the middle of some heavy-duty stuff. Anything you got, Brother Gerald, but it's just so much stuff, and I got so many notes I just can't cover it, and they only give us 15 minutes. We're going to be late to get back as it is.
I just want to kind of reiterate, he said that to admit that you're a U.S. citizen, that means that it's a step down from your birthright citizenship. He said when you're born, you're not born into government, you're born into freedom. And your birthright is one of freedom, and to become a U.S. citizen means that you give them the right to govern you. So it's actually a step down from your original birthright.
Yep.
That you received when you were born.
That's right. He also said from the witness stand, an attorney in federal court is not allowed to beat the IRS. I thought that was a shocking statement. He said you cannot prevail in federal court. Well, we can do all things through God, but I guess he's speaking generally.
He also mentioned that they do have a remedy that they've been working on for quite some time.
Yep.
But they will not let Kent Hovind, they will not send it to Kent Hovind, because they don't want to show the cards in their hand to the enemy before they actually play their cards. The remedy they have, they won't begin to execute until Kent Hovind is released from prison. Right, because
keep in mind, Hansen cannot communicate anything to Hovind without privacy being exposed. So he's not going to communicate the remedy until Kent Hovind gets out of prison, which I remember him saying he expects to be sometime this week.
But the remedy apparently has something to do with the IRS agent that brought all these charges on, that they're actually going to put him on the stand and they're going to have their day in court with him. And so the remedy, apparently they've been working on this with that Dale for quite some time. And out of the Kent Hovind Defense Fund that was set up, this person, Dale, has been paid for that. Paul Hansen has not received a penny of that money, and neither has Kent Hovind. And when Kent Hovind got anxious and wanted to know what this deal was doing for him, and there was a time that he actually thought that Paul Hansen might be robbing him of these funds, but the fact of the matter is that they're just preparing this remedy, which apparently takes a lot of hours. It's probably, he says, it's a $50,000 bill.
A several-year effort.
A several-year effort to do this. And that when the time is right, they will reveal this remedy and actually file it with the court, but they will not send it to Ken Hovind because
it exposes privacy.
It would expose their hand before they had a chance to play it.
When the lawyer asked Hansen about what do you think about Hovind implying you were a thief, his response was back, well, Hovind's having a bad day,
yeah.
Right? Because he's in prison and he doesn't have visibility and everything. So he just says, you know, you need to retract what you said about me. Hansen was very clear that he didn't receive any money, and it's not about the money for Hansen. It's about, you know, his responsibility to the trust and, you know, pursuing what's right. And you ain't going to understand that position unless you understand a biblical worldview. And Tiffany Hope Eggers got him on the stand and asked him how old he was. She said, you finished high school and you only have 1 year of college. You have no accredited. She was really going after him like he doesn't have a lot of education, and she was trying to attack that. I don't think that helped her with the jury. That's just you don't attack somebody's educational level. I thought she was really too rough on the trying to say he's not an educated man. And they sent the jury out of the room, and I guess there's something going on in Nebraska where a court had done an injunction against Hansen, and Tiffany is doing her best to bring that in because it says some negative things about, or it could potentially imply some negative things about Hansen, and she wants to bring that in the case, but at this point I don't think it's going to be allowed to be brought in, which is a good thing. She also said, Tiffany said to Hansen, what country have you traveled to on planet Earth during the course of your life, or something to that effect, because Hansen is, you know, she asked him, like, do you use the mail system? He says, well, I put a letter out in the front yard, you know. I don't know if it crossed any federal lines. And that's true because you don't know where the federal properties are anymore, right? There's the land of the U.S. and land not of the U.S., and you have to make the distinction. So when the letter is traveling, he don't know if it travels over the land of the U.S. or land of not of the U.S. Man, there's so much, guys. I'll just leave, let me make sure I don't have any other highlights. Are you aware of the orders? Tiffany was yelling, yes, sir, or no. She's tired of him. Like, she said he takes a long time to answer the questions. They just took a week of everybody's time and spent hours and hours reading from documents. And then she's mad that Hansen's taken a long time on the witness stand. Absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous that she's mad at him when he's only had like a couple hours. She had an entire week of hour after hour of that Scott Snyder reading and reading and reading and reading from these boring documents, and she's acting like he's taking a long time, and she keeps she'll ask him a question, and then he starts to answer, and she just says yes or no, sir, and that's happened several times. She's made a big deal about the $100 per day to Jaworski, but Hansen had already addressed that he wasn't threatening, he was trying to preserve the right. So I've got to get back in, guys. I want to continue to take notes. It appears the document in the past. Tiffany received it. Looks like what you meant. Oh, Hansen wrote an email. Get this, guys. Hansen wrote an email, and he put a smiley face at the end of the sentence. And in the court, they got these big old screens, like where it's got document camera viewers. She zooms in on the smiley face, and she said, Mr. Hansen, what was the purpose of the smiley face? You know, it's like, aha, I caught you. You put a smiley face in your email. We're going to send you to prison for 20 years. You know, it's like Wicked Witch of the West, man. He puts a smiley face in his email. Ha-ha, we caught you putting a smiley face. You guys got to be here to see this, guys. Come here, see it firsthand. They haven't put Ken Hovind on trial. Please be here for Ken Hovind.
More than likely, Ken Hovind will not take the witness stand until sometime tomorrow. So if you're not here, you still have time to be here.
Yeah.
Show support for Ken Hovind. He needs you to be here.
Yeah.
God needs you to be here. The people of the United States need you to be here.
Yeah. It really makes a difference when the audience is full of Bible-believing Christians. The entire demeanor of the courtroom changes when that happens, and they can't get away with much ugliness when you guys are here and you're praying and there's a spiritual warfare going on. Not only for Ken Hovind and Paul Hansen, but I believe it's a bigger battle. There's a good versus evil battle going in that courtroom, and we need it filled with people with a biblical perspective. But we got to get back in. I had a lot more notes, but I just got to get back in. I don't want to miss anything, guys. God bless you. Please pray if you feel convicted. 1 North Palafox, Pensacola, Florida, U.S. Federal Courthouse.